diet. And the animals weren't born with microwaves and stoves and toaster strudel mechanisms and whatever. They actually eat food as it appears, right? Or carnivores eat it, the fresh blood of an animal, right? That's a major thing too about like the whole animal-based diet, is that, you know, to really get real, like, scientific about it, you got to really understand that most meat, even like grass-fed meat that's being served to you, is like weeks and weeks to months old. It's been frozen. And what, like, you know, certain tribes in the world, like African tribes, for example, they would actually kill the animal, cut the jugular, drink the blood on the spot, and get all the amino acids and get the enzyme, whatever's in there, they would get all of that on the spot. But when you freeze it and you have that time lag, all the vital nutrition, the enzymes for sure start to you know, basically be wiped away, is what I'm saying, right? So anyways, what he found is that dogs that ate, you know, raw meat, ate a raw diet, had less enzyme production in their mouth. And dogs that ate a cooked food, processed food diet had an excess of salivary enzymes. What does that mean? Basically what that means is that those on the processed food diet, the dogs had to produce more enzymes to break down all the foreign enzymeless food. Does that make sense? Whereas if you have a dominantly raw food diet, which is my personal approach, then you don't actually need to produce all your endogenous enzymes, your inherent built-in enzymes. Metabolic enzymes, hey, I said that those are what heals the body, right? Well, what's really interesting is that when you put in, you have a lot more cooked food or processed food than you do living food, your body has to convert metabolic enzymes at a factor of 10 to 1. What that means is it takes about 10 metabolic enzymes to create one digestive enzyme. That makes sense? So you can see how Dr. Edward Howell's research would correlate that the more dances around the sun that you go in life, especially the Western population, the less enzyme activities in the body. And he deducted that when someone loses their enzyme capacity, they start to break down exponentially. You start to notice degenerative decline, degenerative conditions, the breakdown of the construction of the physical construction of the body. All disease, in a one way or another, is factored into the depletion of enzymes. So that's one thing, right? Now, that's the enzyme thing. That's the enzyme story, right? It has full spectrum minerals, right? Putting in superfoods is critical into your diet. Like, I don't even really look at it like a raw food diet anymore. I look at it like a superfood diet. That's really where we need to be going with all this. And what I learned through raw food exploration is that once I got into superfoods and was doing one superfood smoothie a day, maybe like coconut water, coconut meat, chia seed, cacao, maca, goji berries, hemp seeds, marine phytoplankton, spirulina, the whole show. My blood sugar started to change. Mm-hmm. My hunger started to change to the point where now I'm never hungry. It is very rare that I ever get hungry, genuinely. Mm-hmm. My hypoglycemic impulses are pretty much eliminated. And that's what's going on in Western civilization, is that it's basically hypoglycemic impulses. Mm-hmm. People are literally laying hostage to their blood sugar, or they're victims to their blood sugar. Right? They have to eat, that diabetic impulse, like, oh God, got to put something in my mouth. Or they freak out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyone ever had that happen, like at work or something? Or like a spouse or something? Like you notice the pattern, right? Like, okay, they hadn't had anything to eat, they haven't had any protein or anything, and then like they just like freak out on you. They have like a mood swing. Mood swings, in my opinion, like a lot of like neurotransmitter issues or depression, those kind of things. The chronic proliferation of them, in my opinion, a lot of it's a mineral deficiency. We know diabetes is pretty much, like diabetes type 2 specifically, is pretty much a mineral deficiency, omega-6 toxicity, too much omega-6, typically coming from a meat-based diet. Acidic minerals like phosphorus, not enough magnesium, the right kind of calcium coming from leaves, so on and so forth, not having that dynamic balance. And then also hydration issues. It's pretty much what diabetes type 2 is. Diabetes type 1 mostly is an autoimmune condition. It's an immunological condition, essentially. So anyways, minerals, let's at one point I want to bring up about minerals. Out of all nutrition, we talk about protein, fat, carbs, vitamins, all that, like the word vitamin, vitamineral. Vitamins don't work, by the way, if you don't have specific minerals that activate those vitamins. Vitamin C, iron, manganese. That's an interesting correlation. MSM, methylsulfonylmethane, which is like a derivative like DMSO, or it's like a diluted version of DMSO, or just a supplemental sulfur, for just simple sake, which is an extremely powerful beauty mineral, extremely powerful connective tissue, collagen repair mineral, liver filtration issue. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. That is present. That activates vitamin C. It helps to potentiate vitamin C. Just as a singular example, right? So vitamins aren't really the issue. What's the issue is underneath it is the construction, the geological material that we call minerals. We need to get that into our body because that's what constructs our body. That's what constructs neurotransmission. That's what constructs our brain. The formation and activity of our brain. And if you look at what happens in nature, what is a plant doing? A plant or a tree essentially is trying to dig its roots deep into the ground, as deep as it can go, to siphon up minerals. And because of conventional agriculture, we're recycling the soil constantly. We're using it over and over, using chemical fertilizer that has like 3 or 4 minerals: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, NPK, and maybe like something else. That's basically what the human race is getting away with, and then table salt, and then the little bit of like iodine that they put into it. Now, cool thing about a superfood diet and a really like a wild food diet, but like here on Hawaii is a really powerful thing because the coconuts here are wild. It's wild food. The noni here is wild. It's not like the noni wines that you get, in the mainland. It's like actually wild food. The moringa leaves right here, like everything here is essentially like heirloom to wild food quality, which means that it has its original genetics in it. It's genetically strong, which means that we epigenetically, by taking on the influence of that food, it donates that genetic blueprint to us, and we build out stronger genetics because of it. But if we're eating a domesticated, hybridized food supply that's just devoid, even raw food diets, that's devoid of all its minerals, devoid of its enzymes, devoid of its all of it, whatever, then we genetically are susceptible to weak links. And no matter what kind of diet we're on, no matter what kind of positive attitudes you have, at some point in your life cycle, it will crack. Something in the DNA sequence and your chromosomal linkage, we call it telomeres, which are the caps, like shoelace, the plastic that locks in the shoe string. There's telomeres that lock in your chromosomes, that keep your chromosomes from fusing together and from unraveling and causing DNA complications. That's one of the biomarkers of longevity that's been figured out, right? And a lot of that's dependent on essentially taking in food and substances that have wild or close to wild genetics, right? And so it just turns out that wild food has more minerals. And the closest thing that you can get to it as like a wild food diet essentially is like a superfood diet. Spirulina, chlorella, blue-green algae, marine phytoplankton. Marine phytoplankton may be being the most mineralized food in the world. Very possibly the best source of plant-based omega-3, for sure. And very interesting, like, energy-producing nucleotide molecules that doesn't really matter. You know, but just putting that out there, if it lands for you, it lands for you. Stuff like that. Foods like maca root, that comes from the highest elevations of the Andean Mountains in Peru. Foods like cacao, like really good, like Ariba Nasi.